Hi guys, it's me, just listening again, and for this video that I will be dedicating to the month of Halloween, October in 2025, I shall be talking about my mandatory Stephen King based movie of Pet Semetary from 1989, the original creepy-ass movie that involves pets. So, I gotta say that, so far, this is the better of the two versions, the stronger of the two Pet Semetaries. So, what is it about? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a cemetery for pets that is set on an Indian burial ground, and the animals that are buried there come back, but they're not quite the same as when you bury them. They're more of special. Let's put it that way. They're special, and let's get plus it was that there are some issues with the person that's based on. Now, I haven't read the book, so I can't really say that there's 100% true faithful adaptation of the original source material, but I can say that there are some issues with that, with the author Stephen King, and yeah, one trend is more apparent than the other one, but I'll get to that when I get to that. So anyway, we start with talking about this guy, and there's men, the woman, and the two kids that move into a rural area in Maine, and their names are Louis Creed and Rachel Creed, played by Dale Minkoff, and Denise Crowley, respectively, with their children, Ellie Creed and Gate Creed, where I feel that Gate Creed is best memorable, but Ellie Creed, the one that's mentioned so far, and he played by Blaze Birdall, like Rod Doll, and Gage is played by twin baby actors. So there's that. Now they move into this little area in Maine, obviously, because Stephen King has a fetish for that state. And when it comes to the ruralness, it really shows how much it is rural, because there's a bigger trucking factory, I think his name, or Orinoco Flow. But this whole mess of a movie, this whole mess of the situation can be solved by one solution, and that being putting a wall or a fence around the property. Because one thing that's noticeable is that these trucking lanes, this big major highway well, not real highway, but like major road that these trucks go across, and we're always forewarned about this, is that the road on the Creed's little house there is kind of unprotected against people or animals going into the road where there are big trucks that come across, big truck trailers. So that's a big issue that I feel that a wall or a fence around the property could have fixed. But these people are stupid, especially with two young children and a cat. You would think that they would automatically build put up some kind of barrier between the road and the main highway. This wouldn't be solved in the agreement either, unfortunately. So yeah, they're asking for trouble with that one. Now it's also to note that the cat is named Church in this movie, which I feel is a kind of way for Steven to say something bad about the church and organized religions as a whole. We've seen it in other Steven King adaptations where he has something very weird to say about the church and people there being overly preachy and whatnot. Was lovely in Maximum Overdrive. And it's also to note that Stephen King plays a pastor or a priest in this one, which is actually pretty funny. He's also been known to play other roles in other films that were based on his work. For example, The Legaliers, which I'm pretty sure I mispronounced, but what the hell anyway. He plays a CEO of a dream sequence for Valky from Perfect Strangers. Anyway, in any case, I'm getting off topic here again. So basically, the wife and the kids gotta go away somewhere, which would be a very common theme here, because she goes away with the kids. Meanwhile, the husband who's a doctor, has to stay at home and do doctor things and protect people and save their lives. So it's kind of weird that every time that the mother has to go away for business, I think she's a lawyer or architect or something, she has to take the kids with them. So not to say that that's a burden on her or anything, but I would say that that's kind of a burden to take the kids all the time with them to the workplace we live in stuff, and that's kind of the father should share the experience of parenting with the wife and make it more equal. They do this twice in the movie. One to get him in the house in the second instance. But anyway, so while the parents are away, Church gets out, and turns out that Church is based on a Russian blue cat, which I actually had a Russian blue at one point or another, and it actually was the cat right before we got this one, Bella. And my mother named me Kuji after Cujo from the movie Cujo, based on another Stephen King work. So go figure on that one. I guess you like Stephen King works. So that was actually kind of funny, quite coincidental. But anyway, Church ends up getting run over by a big semi-truck with a trailer, and it's really tragic because he got flattened out like Zachary Bates in that movie Hocus Pocus, which I'm probably gonna be getting to eventually this year, and gets flattened out But the thing is that when he gets killed, he gets killed in the royal court. But then he's actually on the neighbor's property. So go figure how he got from the road to the property. Unless maybe the cat got flung away somehow. Which is kind of weird. But anyway, when that happens, the neighbor guy, played by Fred Gwynn, which is the name of the character, Judd, tells him about the Pet Semetary, because and it's in different spelled than we would expect, because poor spelling is cool. They want to make it, I guess Stephen King wanted to make the name Pet Semetary unique, so that's why I put the S into the T. But in any case, Judd told him about the Pet Semetary, the Indian Bear Round. Now, I want to tell you that growing up, I knew Fred Gwynn from 3 roles. Number 1, Fred Munster. Number 2, the judge from My Cousin Vinny. Number 3, this. And in that order, I feel that those are Fred Gwynn's most notable roles. He will always be Herman Munster. He will always be the judge from My Cousin Vinny. And he will always be judge from this movie. Now, I don't care who else played him. I think John Lithgow played him in the other movie, in the remake, but this one is superior, I think. And there's nothing that can change that. I love John Lithgow, but I'm sorry, but he's just real awesome in this one. Especially when in the movie when he says, Gage, I have something for you. And it turns out to be a nice little a Swiss Army knife to kill the already zombie kid. But more on that later on. So anyway, Judd tells him about the Pet Semetary, and he told him to go bury the cat there, to alleviate the kid's Ellie's suffering. And he doesn't even tell her that the cat died, which is kind of a bad move on his part. But anyway, number 1, Judd told this guy to bury the cat in the Pet Semetary, but like in the inner circle of the cemetery, not the outside part, not where everything would be innocent and where everything would just stay dead and stay put. I felt like this movie could have saved a bunch of heartache and grief if only Judge had told him to keep the cat in the safe zone. But no, he had to go into the danger zone and put him in like the inner circle where he knows that bad things happen. And they do, surprisingly enough. So he ends up burying the cat over there in the inner circle of the thing, this Indian Bear Round. Now the thing is that Jill also holds a bunch of secrets about the place, because later on he said that his dog Spot was buried there too, because he heard about the resurrection power of the Pet Semetary too. So when he buried the dog there, he didn't realize that it would come back evil. and it would come back possessed by some other demonic force. So he had to put that again. He didn't tell Lewis about that little detail. Not only that, but when he says when Lewis brings up the fact that the people have been buried over there too. He said, "Good Lord, I don't know." So he also didn't mention the fact that at one point there was a person that did get buried at the Pet Semetary and came back and was not that was also possessed by something else, something not of this world. So they had to destroy the thing, kind of like Frankenstein and his monster. So they had to burn him like by fire, much like Frankenstein's monster. Because we all know that it's not really a monster named Frankenstein. It's the monster. The monster's like not really named in the movie or in the book, I don't think. So and it's really kind of heartbreaking to see that the father of this son, this adult son, was actually trying to hold back the monster, saying, that he's fine, he's okay, he's doing this. Meanwhile, the son has taken the father off as he burned alive and stuff. So it's kind of like a typical zombie movie where someone is dying with their loved one, saying that the loved one is good and pure and all that. Meanwhile, it dying. It did inside, quite literally. So anyway, they show that the guy is dying. They show that this cat ends up coming back to life, and it's by some mystery power. And it was very weird, very creepy, very disturbing that this cat ends up coming back to life. I mean, we saw that it was so dead that it was partially frozen to the ground. And I like to think that the thing that killed the son in the flashback of Judd, that guy was also killed by a big truck. The same lesson was never learned. The purple wars took out protection. And I like to think that this whole thing was set up by the guy that made the song Convoy. That we're looking for a convoy, and we got a lot of trucks going down the highway and stuff. Kind of like a little sadistic type humor. I believe that the song came out before the book came out, which came before the movie came out too. So in any case, church come back to life, which could be a thing for the Christian church, being that we worship Jesus Christ, which in itself is sort of like a zombie in its own right, meaning that he was tortured, killed, and resurrected. I know that might trigger some people, but that's how I see it anyway. So anyway, church come back, not the same, including glowing yellow eyes, like you would see, like if you were to take a picture of a cat at night. Very creepy, but during the daytime. And it's very funny that it's very creepy and very weird and kind of evil and sadistic for a cat. Even more sadistic than your average everyday cat. So anyway, the other trend besides Stephen King talking about religion and stuff and saying that religious people are nuts and all that, is that I noticed that in this movie, this cat only attacks the men in the group, the adult men. He attacks the father, Lewis, and he attacks Judd at one point and gets living bejesus out of him. So that's kind of funny. I mean, kind of like King was working on some daddy issues because he never attacked the mother or the little girl or the baby, even though the cat does sleep with the mother and he does sleep with the daughter, which is another very bad move, because if I saw that the cat was like a weird and stuff and I just buried him in a resurrection chamber or something, I wouldn't let my little girl stay with such a horrible little cat beast. That's just sniffing trouble at that point. And I don't think Stevenson wrote that properly. It'd be like having my little girl sleep with a bunch of razors and a bunch of rusty nails in bed. It can't be good, but the cat seems to be doing fine with the women at least. So everything carried on, and the cat even licks itself and purrs whenever Judd is getting mauled by the baby. It's just like sadistic and kind of funny at the same time. So anyway, they show that the cat's really weird in bringing the dead mice to the father in the bathtub, where I see that as not really a bit of trick of being possessed by anything, but that's just the way cats end up being little gifts of dead birds or rodents to their owners, like as a child saying, I love you, father. Here's a dead animal that just caught. Not freaky whatsoever with that. Sometimes they even give live gifts to their owners to prove their usefulness. Anyway, next thing is that let's see here. Then the wife and the kids come back to the place there, and next on the hit list is Little Baby Gage, which again you should build a wall or some kind of a fence between your house and the encroaching road. My father saw on day one that there was a straight shot to the road where there were very dangerous trucks going across there, 18-wheelers and so forth. It would have been like, I'm putting up a baby key or something to prevent my kid from getting run over. And sure enough, that's what happened. Now, this is unfortunate. This really does occur, that little babies and little kids, young children get run over by vehicles and stuff all the time. And that's really sad. And I'm not trying to take away from that at all. But and I think that the reaction from the father is actually quite realistic, saying no, and then having the flashback of the kid, like his birth, and his first birthday, and so on and so forth. That's accurate and stuff, I feel. But also, I feel like if the tractor trailer driver did not make an attempt to swerve out of the way of the kid, that that when he got run over, he shouldn't have flew over the truck like it did in the movie. I feel like it should have jackknifed like in the remake, which I feel is more accurate to what would happen. And let's see here. It's unless the kid's got like a Superman style strength or Hercules style type strength, that truck the trailer shouldn't have flipped over like it did. I'm not expert on his claim with big rigs or anything, but it shouldn't happen like that. Anyway, we also get little flashbacks of when Lewis was working in the ER as a doctor there. And one guy in particular, Erwin Goldman, Victor Pascal, played by Brad Greenquist, if I'm pronouncing that right, plays a guy who he worked on but couldn't save. Kind of like his son. And all during this movie, he's trying to help out the wife in particular with all of his little quirks and getting back to the house to prevent everything from happening. I like this guy. Because in Ghost form, he's like the guy from the Shining, with the Shining powers, and he's trying to talk to the ghosts and the villain people, Danny and the others. But anyway, he's trying to influence people into helping out and stuff with influencing lots of random chants and all that. So that's pretty cool. Plus, I like the way when he's helping out Rachel. He's like, yeah, I did this. It's really kind of funny the way that happens. So anyway, you shouldn't do this stuff. And like Judd says, sometimes dead is better. As much as I love my mother and grandmother and so on and so forth, they lived their life. They had a happy life. And, once they're gone, they're gone. That if they were to be physically resurrected, something would happen. Something wouldn't be right with them. And if this movie didn't go by, it would have to be put down again. Like every other zombie movie. So anyway, they have the guy Judd over there being all set and everything for Gage's death. The same with their parents. And then they have a little funeral with a little casket, a little funeral for them. Especially with all the friends and family that we never see again in the movie except for the father. Now, I find that the grandfather in this movie is too aggressive. He actually gets into a fight with Lewis over the fact that he let the kid die, which I feel is very, very wrong and very, very, it shouldn't happen. You shouldn't have these kind of feelings. If anything, you wait till before or after the funeral to express these feelings of aggression, feelings of sadness, and you don't blame the parent for letting the kid die. That's all uncalled for. Even at my mother's own funeral, when Uncle Darius and his wife are fighting, they made sure to bury the hatchet, at least for the time being, until the funeral was over. Then they went right back to healing each other. And that's the way you should do it, I feel. So anyway, they have a big fight scene in which the coffin ends up being disturbed, and they end up showing the casket ends up being opened up, and they see the baby there, which shouldn't happen at all. If you were a mature person, you wouldn't push the coffin into being opened like that. But Stephen King had to make drama in it somewhere, which was inappropriate. But let's see here. Then Lewis gets the brilliant idea of putting Gage into the Pet Semetary because it worked so well with Church at the time. Church was such a good example of what would happen if this were to happen to any living creature. So he goes there and digs up Gage's little body while the mother is away at business or maybe a retreat to get away from all the sorrow and pain of losing your kid and the cat at the same time. And I feel like the name Gage is like an old biblical sense. I think like an old colonial time name that shouldn't be used in the vernacular nowadays, but I guess Stephen King felt particularly old-fashioned on that one. So anyway, Gage is brought to the place there. And I find it interesting that when Church is buried by the same cause of death, he had like a little cut on his neck, but Gage fine. Maybe because he was embalmed and all that funeral type stuff, but that was weird. So anyway, the kid goes to the death scene, even though the judge told him not to do it. And let's see here. And the kid gets resurrected as a little demon child. And now you see him playing with Judd at first. And he assumed that because Church was buried a little bit later, that because he got the Gage quicker, that he'd be alright. But it doesn't matter. He's still an evil child, evil zombie child, or possess a body. And he ends up playing with Judd, and he ends up killing Judd first by cutting off his mode of escape by cutting off his Achilles tendon in the heel using his father's scalpel. By the way, who takes the doctor equipment home with them? I'm just curious. Who does that? Especially young baby and young girl at home. So anyway, he killed Judd by doing that and knocked him down, and also killed Judd by chopping his throat like a vampire or like a werewolf. You know what cats over there lots to get up and purring when he does that. Very, very funny. And then Louis, like, I got combo. They're both evil. So he gets to kind of eat raw steak, which I don't know if that's the thing if cats eat steak. But anyway, that's what happens, and he gets church in the cold, and he injects him with poison. Like as a doctor, you have that always on hand for some reason. So you couldn't help but notice that when Louis gets church with the hypodermic needle, he gets him right in the pooper, or or it might be his whole his how to put this where he was neutered from before, which Alex says he getting the top off. Also, the first word, one of the first things that Alex says is an asshole or something, some kind of curse word or something like that. I'm the that gets around there. So anyway, they show that, and the thing died right there on the spot. Now it's time for for him to take out Gage, which at this point killed the mother, hung her, which I have no idea how that happened. How being with the strength of a baby was able to drag a full-grown woman to be hanged. Luckily, we never actually see her being killed by the baby, which in itself is kind of weird. I guess it must have been the whole daddy issue thing. Plus, I didn't even get to talk about Zolta yet. Yeah, she had weird flashbacks of when she was a kid and thinking her elderly, very sick and very deformed Aunt Zelda, kind of like in Reality Twitch, in which she has to take care of this null thing, just barely grasping life, and what parents would ever put a young girl in charge of taking care of an old lady like that. That's beyond sick. And even at that point, young Rachel wishes that Zelda were dead, so that she wouldn't take care of it anymore. That's sick, to have a kid take care of an older person like that. Like, kind of like by force. To the point that we want to wish her a lot of relatives were dead like that. But anyway, also, I should point out that the grandparents, Rachel's parents, the one that assaulted Louis at the funeral, has a weird picture in the back of the house on a weird painting. And this painting depicts a person dressed up like an old woman pilgrim, but she got the body of a young kid, but with the face of a baby boy. So it's weird. It kind of reminds me of that, of a little person from the Poltergeist movie, the Medium. It's really weird. But anyway, is he you see, I guess she's with Zelda now, because Zelda is dead at that point, and it's still haunted to this day, because she probably wished that she were dead, instead, that I'm with Ellie now. I guess the vision to go to Lewis now. So I want so bad for her sake. She's with me now. 2 corpses in 1 grave. And then when they left too. A lot of grapevine from Hill too. Well, maybe that was 3. Whatever. You get the idea. So anyway, they have Rachel just hanging around there. And then they show Lewis has to take on Gage. And Gage comes at him with a knife. Like Chucky. Even the kid even laughs like Chucky. But when he's about to go after the father, and the father sticks a hypodermic needle inside the kid's neck. I don't think he even bothered watching it after he got done with church, which is kind of weird, but whatever. You don't need to watch it for what he's gonna do with the kid. So the kid ends up dying, he said no fair, and then walks away. And then I like the way he falls, and he doesn't even know why he's dying a second death. Which we expect from a little kid. You don't know what the parent did or why he did it. You just know that he's very sleepy and he's very tired and he falls asleep after bumping his head on a wall or doorway. So anyway, this is actually kind of sad for the father being a medical doctor, and that he had to save everyone else's children, but his own child died twice, one by his own hand. So that makes it even worse. Even though I'm not a doctor with it, I know someone who was a doctor who also had to deal with that same issue, because my doctor for so long, Dr. Prizer, was a very good man, very good doctor. And Dr. Prizer, when he many years ago, he had a daughter who I think she was in 23, got like brain cancer, and she passed away. So that's gotta be real hard for him to live with that and to be helping out kids and young children. And meanwhile, your own daughter dies a very horrible, painful death, I'm sure. But eventually, he passed away as well. So at least they're together in heaven, which is more than I can say for like other creatures of the night, like Gage and the church. So anyway, he ends up killing Gage, in a very heartbreaking moment, because you don't want to be seen as your own kid, especially being that you're a medical doctor with the Hippocratic oath and all that jazz. So then you see dying, and then him bring up the house. But not before he grabs his wife and does do the same thing to her. Meanwhile, the ghost of Victor is saying, don't do it, don't do it. And it's too funny because previously, to get from the airport to home, she gets in an accident because she's like a dead body or something, or a ghost or something, and then gets to get off the road. And so, next stop is where a trucker helps her out to show that truckers aren't, not only are they take a life in the movie, but they all help out. But it's weird because whenever you associate truckers with pickup hitchhikers, especially women, attractive women, you kind of get a weird other reason for why he picked her up. But I guess it goes to Miss Pascal over there, probably just don't do anything naughty. So he thanked her, and she thanked him, and well, she would deliver it to the house of death. So then cut back to when the guy dragged her out with one shoe, by the way. I find it real funny that through all of this, she loses one of her shoes, and it's never, still walking around with one shoe now, one high heel. So anyway, he brings her back because apparently he likes cemetery things and living dead girls. Meaning that he thinks that because he is resurrecting his wife sooner than he resurrects Gage, that she'll be normal again. That he never learned that everything buried in the Pet Semetary ends up becoming twisted and possessed by something not of this world. So anyway, he buries the girl, and she comes back very much undead, a living dead girl, if you will. And she ends up coming back to him, crawling back to him. Now, it should also be noted that when engaged with Robert life, it was very quick that very night, actually. And when he died again the second time, he was killed very slowly, a lot more slowly than Cat Church. So anyway, with something really interesting here. Let's see here now. Then they show him in a mad embrace at the end of the movie, because as we all know, zombie sex is the best kind of sex, or sort of heard. And the movie cuts out with her grabbing a knife and getting ready to slice the guy to pieces, and that's what ends up with her slicing him and him screaming in pain. Now, I like getting into the other movie, the remake, better because it shows one big happy zombie family. I guess it explores the whole zombie family thing and expands into the world. But this one's pretty cool too, because you get zombie snoo from a woman that looks a lot like the actress that played Gozer in the first Ghostbusters movie, which is really cool. I like it. So let's see here. Do I like this movie? Oh yeah, I like this movie because it's got Fred Gwynn in it. It's got a creepy little child in it. It's got zombies, and I'm assuming zombies love. zombie snoo, and it's really cool. Church is awesome. I love Church. Even though in the next movie they feature it as a Maine Coon, which, again, Stephen King loves to say a Maine, so why not have it be a Maine Coon from the start. But I enjoyed this a lot. As you can tell by the length of the video. Should it be remade? I don't know. I mean, the first one was a classic. I think number 2 was good. I haven't seen that for many years now, so I gotta see it again. But yeah, I'll cover that next year. But yeah, I enjoyed this movie a lot. I enjoyed all the performances. Gage was actually pretty good. Gage, which you think of when you hear the word Gage, you go Gage. I think a gear ratio, or a 12-gauge shotgun, or say gauge that people put in their ears, the big hoop things. That's what I think of Gage. I don't think of it as a proper name, or maybe a last name or something. Anyway, yeah, I definitely enjoyed this movie a lot. And I thank you for enjoying my video on the 1989 version of Pet Semetary, because misspelling is cool, and it was actually a pretty good movie. I like the implications of the zombie cat and the zombie baby and the zombie woman. One big happy zombie family. And I find it interesting to see that a medical procedure will be enough to kill an undead, possessed baby and cat, and possibly a woman too. Well, I like the way the baby and the cat, for the most part, look normal when they're brought back. But when the mother is brought back, she's brought back like half skeleton, half regular, half skeleton, kind of like Two-Face in the Dark Knight by Christopher Nolan. So it's kind of weird that would happen. You would think that King would try to make it so that the woman would still retain like a little bit of a beautiful face and not the rest of her body. By the way, I find it really hilarious that she walked all the way from the Pet Semetary, all the way across the woods, all the way across the property and the road and everything, using one tube, one high heel tube. That must have been real awkward for her. You would think that'd be more comfortable to remove the shoe altogether, the other shoe, or take the heel off or something. Be more comfortable. But I guess when you're a zombie, you don't really care about functionality or comfort. But to me, that's very funny. And maybe the baby is super strong, and that's why the trailer took over or flipped over, and that's why he was able to bring the body of the mother to be hanged. Where I wonder why the mother didn't actually struggle against that. I don't know if she wanted to die with like Zelda, whatever the case is. But yeah, that would be very traumatic for a little kid to see a woman like Zelda and be forced to take care of her like that. That's kind of a weird thing that Stephen put Stephen King put some of his books and movies look very similar to that the bear that was given the weird positioning in the first Shining movie. And you know what I'm talking about here. I'm not gonna mention it on YouTube because I don't want to be taken off YouTube for that, but you know what I'm trying to say. Also, the dead body in the tub that came alive. Yeah, thank you for watching the review of this movie. I did this for the month of Halloween, October in 2005. And as you can imagine, I give this one a very hearty, and healthy, happy face, 0 approval. Because it's freaking awesome. You know, if you're gonna have snoo, you might well have it with your dead zombie wife. Before she kills it, literally, from hiding secrets from her. Because women will always find out. Also, another thing is that they never try to resurrect Judge in this movie. Just the people who she loves, like the baby, and like the woman Rachel, never Judge. Even in the remake, that never happens. Which would be very interesting if you ask me. But yeah, if you guys like what you see here, you can always get me on my like, can always give me more future information on my future videos, suggestions by calling me or texting me at 631-707-3707. Or you can get me on my Twitter at, you can follow me on Twitter, or actually prefer call that at PNelsonPro. And my email is jjsviewingchannel@gmail.com. So, as to anyone that likes zombies or anything else for that matter, and all you pet lovers out there, like I am, as well as anyone that likes Fred Gwynn or Stephen King books and movies based on those books. Anyway, peace out, my brothers and sisters. And remember, sometimes dead is better. I wonder why he said sometimes. Dead is always better than something dies in any way. You know, you don't want to have anything resurrect with something else other than its own pure being and pure soul. No, I want to now Gage and Rachel and Church were all pure souls when they went into the Pet Semetary. When they were buried there, and then they came back possessed by an evil force. What would happen if they ever were buried there and they were evil or corrupt or greedy or something like that? What then would that mean that they would come back as a more evil person or being, or would they be purified? Yeah, that's a good question. Also, I don't like this whole emphasis on an Indian background being associated with evil resurrection. That's like kind of bad for them, meaning that they want that Indians are not Christian by default. Kind of another stab at religion. Anyway, like I said, peace out, my brothers and sisters. I'll see you in the next video. All you girls and guys in Internet land. Toodaloo. Sayonara.